Hello, welcome everybody. It's your girl Sharita, the Behavior and Literacy Strategist, coming at you from the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute, where you can find solutions for both your child's behavior and literacy challenges. And now I'm also doing word problem challenges for students who have difficulty with reading and understanding and solving word problems and also need to catch up on their math, okay? So we got a lot going on at the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute, but man, I'm really excited about tonight. I've been waiting. Probably when I first started doing the Saturday nights lives again, I was most excited about this topic that I'm going to be talking about tonight. I waited a couple of Saturdays to get here, but this topic tonight is a good one, okay? Something I'm very passionate about. I know I say that about everything, all right? It's about special education and how to get our children out of special education. I'm going to be more specific about it. I'm not talking generally. I'm not going to talk about how special education is bad for our kids and we need to get our kids out. But I'm going to talk about moms out there. If your child is in special education and your child has been in special education for years and you haven't really seen any growth or improvement, this is the place you want to be right now, because I'm going to be talking about how to develop a plan to get your child out of special education. So the first thing I want to just stress for you, tell you, and let me pull this up as so I can see you guys. If anybody has any comments, I'll be able to see if anybody has any questions. I'll be able to see it. Okay? The thing I want to really stress to you all is that special education is temporary. It's temporary. It's not supposed to be something that's my own personal belief. It's not supposed to be something that our kids need year after year after year after year. Okay? Now, I've had some disagreements about this. And sometimes moms will tell me, not moms that I know, get to know through the consultations or anything like that, but moms will actually tell me, well, special education, my son needs it, and he needs the IEP. He needs the IEP, and if he didn't have the IEP, I don't know where he would be, okay? Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. If that works for you, fine. But what I'm talking about tonight is if you have a child that you want to improve so much that they don't need special education. That's what I want to be talking about tonight, okay? If you want your child to improve so much that they no longer need a personal aid, they no longer need to be in a special education classroom, they no longer need accommodations, they no longer need the test questions read for them and someone to sit right next to them during the test. They can function independently. They don't need anyone to help them focus, you know what I mean? Control their behavior or their anger. They have self-control and self-discipline. If that's what you want for your child, that's what I'm talking about tonight, okay? So my goal, and what I've been working with kids for years, and in the students in my program right now, the same thing is, if they're in special education right now, we're developing a plan for them to transition out of special education into the general education classroom and setting without the needs of an aid, without extra supports, not because we just want to strip it away and see what happens, because they have grown so much they no longer need it. All right? So the first thing, like I said, you got to think in your head is special education is temporary. So let's say today you are talking with your child's school and they say that your child needs to be in a special education classroom or needs resource or needs a one-to-one aid. You have to tell yourself, today, right now, this is what my child needs right now. But this is not going to be what my child is going to have for the rest of their education, okay? Tell yourself it's temporary. And then I'm going to talk to you about, I'm going to tell you what questions you need to ask yourself so that you can make that a reality, okay? So first, we always want to do an assessment. We want to look at what's going on right now for our children, okay? Number one, how did my child end up in special education in the first place? Was it behavioral, right? Your child have a lot of behavior problems, maybe fighting, maybe not doing their work. The teacher they're always disrupting the class, you know what I mean? You get phone calls from school, and it was just too much for them to be able to function in a general education classroom without the extra supports. Is that it? Is your child a struggling reader? Is your child reading below grade level? Okay, that could be it as well. They're reading below grade level. They can't function without someone reading for them or telling them what it says when they have to do their work. They can't sit with their work if they're given a worksheet to do, read everything on the page and answer questions themselves. Okay? But they're way below grade level. Like they're 5th grade, but they're reading on the 1st or 2nd grade level, sometimes even kindergarten. Some of my students, when they first come to me, right? Is that it? Is your child having difficulty with socialization? Is your child having focus issues? It could be one of these things, but it could be a combination of these things. And 9 times out of 10, behavior and literacy are actually affecting each other. And this is why I combine both. I'm a teacher. I'm a coach. I was a special education teacher in the classroom. I was a mental health specialist. And I combine both of them to coach my students. Okay? And 9 times out of 10, they're acting out because they can't read. And they're trying to get out of doing their work and even becoming distracted or unfocused. You know, and then if we just work on the behavior and never take care of the literacy part, the behavior is going to keep coming back because this is what they used to avoid, feel like a failure all the time. Okay? If we just work on their reading and we don't address the behavior, then they're not going to be able to get very far in their reading because the behavior is so effective at running away. So this is why I combine both of them. But how did your child end up in special education? Do the assessment. Okay? Number 2, what is in your child's IEP? So we need to get really good at understanding everything that's in your child's IEP. What services are in there? What accommodations are in there, right? What does it say about what reading level is your child on? The grade level? Are they reading on grade level or below? Right? And where are they now? Because when you put your plan in place and you meet with the teachers again and again, you're going to see the grade level start to go up. That's the whole point, right, of it. So you need to have a starting point. You need to know what's going on right now. Then, what do you want your child to accomplish? And when we say, what do you want your child to accomplish, don't hold back. Don't hold back. Whatever it is that you want your child to accomplish, make sure that you go high, okay? So I meet with moms and they say, I just want my child to do better. What does that mean? I don't need an A, maybe at least if my child could get a C. No, at least. If you say, I don't want an A, at least a C, you're thinking about an A. Go for an A. An A is nothing but a right answer over and over again. And that's what I tell my students, okay? So set your sights high. Don't think about what your child has done so far, what your current situation is, what the past situation has been. Don't worry about any of that. Focus on what you want your child to accomplish. And even if nobody else can see this, even if nobody else is thinking that high for your child, it doesn't matter. You think high. And when you put the right plan in place and you start moving, you stay consistent, you start to see that growth. It will surprise people around you, and then they will start to think higher. But if other people don't see what you see yet, that don't stop you. You keep moving. Okay? You go high. All right? And now that you have you did an assessment, you figured out how your child ended up in special education in the first place. What is in your child's IEP? What's going on in there? Okay? What does your child have in place right now? Okay? You also want to know, is it working? Has there been progress? You know what I mean? You really want to dive into your child's IEP. You want to talk with the professionals when you have the meeting, the teachers, the caseworker, everybody, right? Special education teacher, if you have a special education teacher, right? You want to really dive into that and find out everything, okay? So after that, you're going to turn accommodations into goals. Whatever is in your child's IEP or whatever supports your child has in place right now, think of them as training wheels, okay? And when we're riding a bike, you know how to ride a bike, we start with training wheels. After a while, you take the training wheels off. So these accommodations are not meant to stay these training wheels are not meant to stay on the bike. Second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. No, your child is not, just because they're in special education right now, or they got into special education, or even if they've been in special education for years, that does not define who your child is and what their educational experience is supposed to be. That's just what's going on right now. I can't stress that to y'all enough. I have students, I just finished a conference with a teacher, one of my students' teachers, and I meet with my students' teachers. I send emails out and I contact them on a monthly basis so that we can meet. And the teacher that I just met with right now, we're working on a plan to get my student transitioning out of special education because she's grown that much. That's the conversation now. And I have another student that's been in for a long time, and my student's been in for years. So it doesn't matter how long. It just matters that you have high standards, you have goals, and you focus on growth, because it can happen, and it is happening, okay? So you got to turn accommodations into goals. What do I mean by that? If your child needs somebody to sit next to them to make them stay in their seat, or any supports like that, or to help them focus. So that's a goal for your child to be able to function independently in the classroom, to remain seated in the classroom, okay? So really that happens when kids keep jumping out of their seats, right? Or they disrupt the rest of the class. They need somebody to kind of handhold them a bit, right? That's a goal, for them to remain seated, for them to not get out of their seat without permission, which is the same thing, but I'm just saying another way, right? That's a goal now. If your child now needs, when it's time for them to do their work, everything read to them, and they sit there and listen to the story being read to them, the questions being read to them, and the instructions being read to them, and then when they have to do their work, they can still get help. The goal is for them to be able to read it themselves, right? We don't want our children to need that every year of their school life. This is temporary, and this needs to change. So when our kids get into a smaller classroom with more supports, right? A special education class where we feel good. This is what he needs. This is what she needs, because this is going to help them. It's harder for them in a bigger classroom. They need more one-to-one attention. They don't need one-to-one attention. They need to learn how to function independently. And this is where I get to conflicts with people. And moms, not moms, people, really what I'm talking about is people on Facebook, right? You know how people with Facebook opinions, if I post something and they don't really understand everything I'm saying. But I have a 4-year-old, Maya. Some of you know her, right? She's a little firecracker, okay? And I taught her how to dress herself. And she picks out her own clothes for school, lays them out in the morning. I jump in the shower, and then the whole thing is she gonna be ready before I get out the shower. So she go in her room and she get dressed. She knock on the door and say, "I beat you, Mom," right? So she's 4 years old, and it's appropriate that I teach her how to dress herself, right? So what if she acted up, or she would say, "I can't do it, I need help," and she was crying and couldn't. So then I was helping her, and then I thought, Jasmine, that's my other daughter. Maya cannot dress herself. She needs me. She needs somebody in the room with her to help her get dressed. And every year we're doing the same thing. Is that going to help her grow? Should we be doing that, or should we equip her, teach her how to dress herself, what she needs to put on, how to pick everything out, how to match everything, you know what I mean? And lay everything out the night before. When she wake up in the morning, how to put everything on and get dressed and everything, and how to make sure the tags are not in the front of the shirt, right? So we don't do that in real life, but when it comes to our children's education, and when they start to fall behind, and they're falling way behind, sometimes we can get discouraged, and we start to have that approach. And we feel like they need these training wheels. And they need to keep these training wheels every year, or else they won't be able to function in school. So what we're doing right now, we are turning that whole idea and mindset on its head. And we are now working to get our children to function independently as soon as possible. Okay? So anything that your child, any kind of assistance that your child gets right now, and if your child has occupational therapy, or if your child has a speech therapist, or if your child is in special education and they have an aide next to them, get in close communication with them and find out what they're seeing in the classroom. Turn those behaviors that your child is having, or any issues they're having, they can't function independently. It could be in literacy, right? They can't read on their own. Figure out everything that needs to happen, create an action plan, and turn these accommodations into goals, honey, all right? And then meet with them and talk to them so that everybody is on the same page. And you can be up to date on your child's progress, okay? So that's the next one. So number one, so turn accommodations to goals. Number one is create a customized action plan. It has to be customized. Every child is different. So you as their mom can customize things as much as possible, because you know your child better than everybody else. And that's why I always say, Mom, you're the expert. You know your baby better than everybody else, okay? Even sometimes if you feel like you don't, you have what's called mother's intuition. So when you really zoom in and pay attention and work to create a customized action plan for your child's growth, okay, and that's what I do with my moms in my program. Next, you got to meet with your child's teachers once a month to identify progress and areas for growth. That's what I just did with one of my students' teachers. We want to identify progress. So last month, they had a difficulty with this. We put a plan in place. This month is much better. It's not an issue anymore. Okay? Or I've seen a lot of progress. Right? So these have to be, you have to measure these. And then you also want to identify areas for growth. And what are areas for growth? We need to work on this, okay? This is a problem. This is holding everything up and holding our kids back, my child back from their academic success. Or this is what my child uses to get out of doing their work. Or this is how they act up. They've been acting up so they don't have to, do their work. All these things, you'll be up to date instead of waiting until a problem happens. Right, in school, so there's some issue, you'll be ahead of it. It's more proactive, okay? You got to lead this, Mom. You got to lead this, okay? So identify progress and areas for growth. Number three, update your action plan once a month. So the action plan, it includes what's going on with the school when you communicate with the teachers. But when you go home, you take that information and you also look at the goals that you have for your child. Home and school. I can't stress that enough, because a lot of our children's behavior patterns, we can see patterns at home and at school. So when we work on them at home, and that's what we do here at the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute, when we work on them at home, we make sure that it transfers into the classroom. We can see that growth in the classroom. Why? Because our children are they're going through a transformation. Becoming a better version of themselves. So if this growth and this change is internal, then it's going to show up when they're out on the street, when they're in the classroom, wherever. It's become part of who they are, okay? So that's why we do it at home, all right? So you're going to update your action plan once a month. Identify progress and areas for growth. Number 4, IEP review every 6 months if possible. I just did an IEP meeting for another one of my students, okay? And it was a very good meeting. We identify progress and areas for growth. And I asked the teachers to give me something that they would like, the most important, the game changer. Okay? Like, if my student does this, this would change the game for them. I would see a lot of progress over this next month if they take care of this one issue. Okay? So I met with the teachers, and they said that he made a lot of growth. Okay? And we also identified areas for growth. We identified the progress and the areas for growth. Okay? And that's what they said. They said it's 6 months. We could do a 6-month review, or we could do a 12-month review. IEP usually is once a year. If you can get it every 6 months, that's even better. Look, growth, progress, accomplishing goals has to be something that we are paying attention to on a regular basis. Okay? If we go months down the line, so the way I'm telling you is meet with the teachers on a regular basis, focusing on growth, focusing on progress, focus on what else do we need to do? What's next? All right, he accomplished this. What's next? She accomplished this. What's next? Well, what else do we have to do according to your action plan? Okay? All right? But if you wait until the end of the year, then and to focus on an IEP when you had the opportunity to do it in 6 months, there's a lot of this missed opportunity for more growth right there. Okay? So they said 6 months we can meet. Awesome. Let's do 6 months. Okay? Unless he graduates before the 6 months is out, because he's made a lot of progress. Okay? And then you get your IEP review every 6 months if possible, with the idea of transition out of special education. You have to let them know from the start. And when I start working with the teachers in my program, some of my students are in special education, some are not. But I let them know right from the start. The goal of the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute is 2 things. 1, to help my students function at or above grade level, or help them transition out of special education into the general education setting. So I let them know straight up what I am working to accomplish, what mom is working to accomplish here. You have to say that. You have to say, let them know by no means do you expect your child to not grow and to need this special education year after year after year after year. Okay? So that's the idea. You tell them that the idea is, the goal is transition out of special education. Okay? So how do you do that? Focus on growth and keep accomplishing and creating new goals. The growth from last time, the progress from last time, what has happened, what has my child been able to accomplish since the last IEP review. Okay? And what goals will we set right now for the next IEP review? Okay? And then what needs to happen? I was so excited for my mom when of my student. We just did the IEP review. And I wanted to ask this question, but I know she had this question on her mind, so I just was quiet, okay? And I was so happy when she asked it. She asked, so what needs to happen for my son to not need special education anymore? I'm like, yes! Ask that question. Absolutely. Then everybody's going to be focusing on it. If they see in progress, you put your action plan in place, and they're seeing progress already, they welcome that. What needs to happen for my child to transition out of special education? And if they don't, they just probably don't understand where you're at, and that's okay. All right? That's okay, but they will. What needs to happen? Let them tell you, the professionals in the school, you have your own idea because you've done your own action plan. Okay? You looked at your child's IEP. You turned those accommodations into goals, right? But you want to hear from them too, because they have this. When he's at school, they're seeing, observing everything too. And the caseworker said, "Yeah, keep doing what you're doing." And she said the program seems to be working for him. But keep doing everything that you're doing right now on this track. he will be able to transition out of special education. That's what you want to hear. With everything that you're doing right now, keep it up. He's going to be able to transition out of special education. Okay? Here's another bonus question that I asked a teacher recently. Because there are many kids that are reading in general, that are in general education, and they're reading below grade level. So when you ask this question, what needs to happen for my child to be able to transition out of special education, you're asking the teacher's opinion. So I asked the teacher this question: what grade level do you feel my students should be reading on to transition out of special education to a general education classroom, right? And she told me the grade level, and that's the same grade level I was thinking. Bam, we got another goal, okay? And she's also, this is another teacher, with the track that she's on, and she showed me the growth. She's in the 90th percentile for growth in reading. The track she's on, she's going to hit that no problem, okay? So now you have a greater level of understanding here of what you need to work with. Now we have a goal. Boom. We're already on our way. We definitely going to hit it. But now you get really focused on it. You're excited because goal is to transition out of special education and like get reading on this grade level. It was 6th grade level, she said. Reading on 6th grade level. Now we're ready to transition out of special education, right? Now you have a goal. Goals, growth and goals, y'all. Growth and goals. Okay? So this is how you get your child, and this is I've helped kids in this area, and I'm continuing to help kids in this area get to a point, grow so much that they don't need special education anymore. It's not fighting the school and saying that they shouldn't put them in special education, and they just because yeah, we could all say that there are too many kids in special education, right? But what is really focused on is growth and connecting with your child's teachers, having your own plan, feeling empowered to work on this and improve and grow your child to a point where they don't need it. Okay? Where it's like, what is he doing in special education? He's reading on grade level or above grade level. You know what I mean? He doesn't need the A. It's another thing that I heard recently in another meeting. The teacher said a lot of the accommodations that she had from her IEP, she doesn't even use it or need it anymore. Yes, that's what you want to hear. Don't even need it. You had these accommodations in the last IEP. They don't even need it anymore. They haven't been using it. They've been functioning independently. They've been doing it on their own. Okay? Their reading level is going up, shooting through the roof. When your child can go into the classroom, sit down, focus, follow directions, complete all their assignments, read everything on their own, interact with their peers in a positive way, and also with their teachers. When your child can do all of that, okay? What's the need for special education? Okay? Now, I know that there are other areas like speech and, different, okay? That the same goes for that. Be goal-oriented. And have your child be like that, too. Growth and achievement-oriented. Goal-oriented. I have many students come to me, and they have difficulty pronouncing words. And they have difficulty pronouncing sounds. Man, I make them read aloud. And I zoom in on the particular sounds that they're struggling with, and they have to practice it over and over, in this way, in this way, in this way, customizing it until they got it, okay? So even that, it's not just as simple as being able to read and spell and, read on grade level and control their behavior. But when a child has a problem with their speech, and they have to read aloud, but they're learning how to pronounce the different sounds in the word, and they have to keep working on it over and over. They develop over time, and they even improve their speech. I've had that happen as well, okay? So there's nothing you can't do. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all tonight. There's absolutely nothing that you can't do, okay? Believe in yourself. All right? Special education is temporary. It's not, in my opinion, so people disagree, but I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Okay? If I'm your cup of tea, we can rock. Okay? In my opinion, there's absolutely no need for children with the issues that I told you about just now to be in special education year after year after year, because children can grow in all these areas. Okay? In all of these areas. All right? Special education is temporary. Do your assessment. Keep that in your mind. Do your assessment. Then get a plan in place. Update your own action plan every month. Develop a really good relationship with your child's teacher. Be proactive. Have meetings with them on a monthly basis. Checking specific goals that you all agreed on that your child needs to grow in, the areas that need to grow in. Have a plan for your child to grow in those areas. Look for progress and find out if there are any other areas, challenging areas for your child. Find out. I'm very nosy. Okay? I'm very nosy. I will sniff it out. And my students know that too. If you don't know, you will know. And if this behavior or this way of thinking is holding you back for your academic progress, oh, we getting that together. Okay? So be specific about that, y'all. Okay? You can do this. All right? I want y'all to believe that. So I don't think I need to talk too much about my program, because I told you a couple of things that were going on so far with my students. Yes, we are helping students transition out of special education. Yes, we are helping children, even as simple as being able to sit down or do their work when they were throwing tantrums in the classroom, and also getting on the honor roll and improving their reading and reading fluency. I mean, it's endless. I just love teaching, and I love being able to challenge my students, and I love working with moms who let me do that, who let me challenge their students because their children, because I believe in them. Okay, I believe in them, so I'm not going to let them back down. I'm not going to let them give up. I'm going to let them keep going until they can master this word. They can read this paragraph on their own. They can read this story on their own. Okay, and I think you should too, because our children are amazing. Okay. All right, so I want to thank y'all so much for your time. I try to set it up. Tech is not my forte, but I'm working on it. I tried to set this up so that I can see what's going on, if there are any comments. So if there are any comments or questions, I'm going to check after this, and I'll be sure to get back to you, okay? If you are looking for, if you want your child to improve their behavior and literacy, and you want them to, if their child is reading below grade level, or some moms come to me and they enroll their kids in my program, not because their child is struggling with reading below grade level, they just want their child to be excellent. They want their child to get a boost, be challenged, and do their best. They identify some areas themselves that they feel like their children should be able to, their child should improve on, even though the teacher's not saying it. So it's all customized, is what I'm saying, okay? So if you are looking to improve your child's behavior, focus, literacy, and even math problems from home, and you want them to work with somebody who is going to equip them with everything they're missing or lost, and equip them for success in the classroom behaviorally and academically, then send me a message or go to growthinstitute.mykajabi.com. That's GROWTH institute.mykajabi.com, y'all. Believe in yourself, believe in your child, honey, and always remember that growth is unlimited. Peace.